All right, what's up, Facebook? We're here at BFA HQ today, hanging out with a very important guest. I'm honored that this man sitting to my left here even took the time to show up here and hang out. I had to twist his arm with the old "our kids go to school together" line to get him up here.
It's very effective.
You're here. It worked. You're here. So this is the, in my eyes, the legendary Patrick Bet David. This guy has built a machine, and I first got to know of Patrick a few years ago when he had a viral video where he was stepping out of his house in California into this Ferrari, talking about what it was like to be an entrepreneur. I bet within, and this is the only time other than Billie Jean, do you know him? Other than Billie Jean's Wolf of Wall Street video, that's the only time where somebody has, like, hundreds of people sent me that video. It's like, hey, did you check out this video? Who is this guy? And so I started looking into you. I'm like, yeah, who is this guy? Obviously, this video's taken off, and they've really got a good message behind them. And then I noticed that you're the owner of an insurance agency, PHP agency.
Yes.
And you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, when I got out of the military, I started. I wanted to be a bodybuilder, and I
seen pictures. You were doing a good job of it.
Back in the days, I used to. So then I met a girl at Venice Beach who was working at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. I started working with Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. Then I went to Trans, and then from there we started PHP Agency October of '09 with 66 agents. Today we have 8,400 agents in 49 states.
Wow, 8,400 agents. That's a lot, man.
Yeah, it's a good amount.
What do you think's been the key for you to be able to recruit 8,400 people? Obviously, the effort being duplicated, but what do you think
I think it's clarity in the target. That's number one. So you got to have a vision. Our vision from day one was a very big vision. I remember we had an event one time, and it was called Saving America Doing the Impossible. I was dressed as George Washington. My wife was dressed as Lady Liberty. We had 40, foot Mount Rushmore on the stage, 40 American flags. I had Ronald Reagan's son come and speak to the group, Michael Reagan, and I said, we're going to have 500,000 insurance agents by 2029. Now, when I said 500,000 licensed agents, the industry has 200,000 agents. So it's absolutely a insane of a goal to pose. But we said 500,000 licensed agents, and we started off with 66, and then we grew. But so number one is vision. Two is knowing exactly what you're looking for. So I looked at the marketplace. If you read Blue Ocean Strategy, it'll give you a formula to know what the market's doing. You got to figure out a way to minimize, increase, eliminate, create. And I saw the market wasn't focused on minorities. Back in 2004, Ron Paul ran for office. He ran for president. On MySpace.
And should have won, by the way.
Could have won.
Yeah, I mean,
he could have won.
The media blacked him out, but he was definitely ahead for a long time.
Yeah. Absolutely. And he's 70 years old at the time. He raised $6 million in 24 hours on MySpace. When that happened, it was a Guinness Book of World Record at the time. When that happened, a young senator from Illinois saw his model, Barack Obama. And Barack Obama ran for office on social media. He raised $2 billion. He became two-term president. Then Trump becomes president through Twitter, and he's a social media guy that understands marketing. So for us, I noticed a lot of people were not paying attention to minorities, and we looked at women, minorities, and millennials. So for us, the average insurance agent in the company right now is a 34-year-old Hispanic female. And that is
in your company.
In our company, PHP. So if you come to our conference and you come to convention, you'll see, last one we had with Kevin Hart was our performance. Wow. You'll see thousands of people there, and Kevin's performing. You would say, where is this place? Half the company's Latino. Young, good-looking, sexy. That became our focus, and that helped us out.
I know a lot of successful entrepreneurs that have built very successful businesses catering to the Hispanic market or one minority market after another, because the big businesses tend to overlook them, so little businesses can turn into big businesses paying attention to them, because I don't know the actual numbers, but I mean, if you add all the minorities together, they're probably a majority,
Oh, they got 40 million here now. So for me, one of the reasons why I like minorities, obviously I was born and raised in Iran. I lived in Iran 10 years. We escaped. Khomeini died. 6 weeks later, we escaped. Went to Germany. I lived at a refugee camp in Germany for a year and a half. Then I came to the States here. So the only thing I knew with my not knowing how to pronounce Wednesday, I would say Wednesday, or not knowing how to pronounce Gilligan's Island, I would say Island, because the S would throw me off and confuse me a little bit. Not knowing how to pronounce government, right? All these pronunciations. I knew one thing, I was gonna work hard. And so, if there's one thing minorities have in common is they are hard-working machines, and I respect people who work hard, they get along with me, so we wanted to focus on that side, and that kind of helped us out.
Gotcha. So at 11 years old, you had left Iran, been in a German refugee camp before coming to here. That's pretty hardcore, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty hardcore. And you knew at a young age that this was the land of opportunity, that you could do whatever you wanted.
This was a movie to us. Like, this wasn't even real. Like, when we landed, we had to pinch ourselves. Like, is this really happening? Like, where is Sylvester Stallone? I'm looking for Rocky. Where is everybody? Like, every holiday, because that's what we see.
Right.
We would see, like, gremlins. Where are the gremlins at? Where the Ghostbusters at? It was such an innocent, naive, like,
right.
You're thinking they're waiting for you in the airport when you land, right? But came to the state, I could not believe how amazing this country was. And so for me, I said, you mean to tell me I can talk about, like, when we first landed, we had the news. On the news, we're watching, the guy on the TV starts talking smack about the president at the time. And my mom says, poor man, they're going to kill him tomorrow. I said, Mom, this is America. It's a business to talk smack about presidents.
If that was the case here, half the country would be dead right
now. Think about it today, right? So you have freedom of assembly, okay? Freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, you got free enterprise, you got all these benefits, but not a lot of people take advantage of it. I think the number one benefit America offers is capitalism. And if you don't wake up in the morning, figure out a way to get to work and make that money, it's on you. It's your choice every single day how big of a life you want to build in America. The choice isn't the government's choice. It's your choice in America. That is the number one benefit plan America offers. So for me, I said, I'm going to get to work, and the rest is history.
And so you came here from another country, but you served in the American Armed Forces, correct?
Yes.
And so what made you decide to go down that route?
I'm the weird Iranian guy that loves America, right? Like, I bleed red, white, and blue, right? And I bleed Iran. That's what's so weird. And I bleed Armenian and Assyrian because that's my mom and dad. My mom is Bogosian, Armenian. My dad's Assyrian, Bet David. I was born in Iran. I lived 10 years. I have a lot of respect for the Shah and the family, what they did in Iran, and the U.S. U.S. is who made me who I am today. You take U.S. out, no one knows who Patrick Bet David is, right? So I have a lot of gratitude for America. So I went into the military. Part of it, I went to the military because I had no direction on what I was going to do in my life. And this one guy named Jesus Querera followed up with me for 4 years. And he kept telling me, Pat, yeah, he kept, it was so good. And so finally one day he says, Pat, let me ask you a question. I said, what is it? He says, would you like to get, because you got to try to close people at whatever level they're at. He says, I want you to think about you going to a mall. I said, okay. He says, imagine you have a military uniform on. I said, what's your point? He says, every single girl wants to be with you. That was a selling point, right? So I said, no, I'm not going. 6 months later, I got fired from Burger King, and I finally joined the Army. But his follow-up is the reason why I went into the Army, a big part of it. So, yeah, and then Army changed my life.
So if I'm putting this together, it's Iran, German refugee camp, America, Burger King, the military, then what?
Burger King, military, then Bally Total Fitness, then
Man,
Morgan
Bally's
Stanley
raised some closers.
Bally's absolutely
I know some of the coldest closers in the game used to work for Bally's.
We always say that. Bally's, listen,
man, there were some players working for them.
There were some players coming out of Bally's.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what Bally's is. That's like a 24-hour fitness, pretty much put them out of business. But back in the day, the way that you go into Bally's is they sell you a gym membership, and they sell you it's like $20 a month or whatever, but they take out like a $5,000 line on your credit. And so the guys would make commission from the $2,000 or $5,000 line of credit they could get you. And then even if you canceled the gym membership, you still owed that money. You couldn't get out from under it without ruining your credit. So you had to be, and everybody knew that towards the end, you had to be a closer. That's where my buddy Mike Reese, who's probably one of the coldest salesmen I've ever met, that's where he's from.
Is he Bally's? Was he Bally's, Texas?
Yep, here in Texas, yep.
They produce such great salespeople.
They did.
When I meet somebody who worked at Bally's for more than 2 years and they did sales, I say, you're gonna do fine with that.
Right. So Bally's, then Morgan Stanley, then you started your own thing.
Bally's, Morgan Stanley, then Trans, then my own thing.
Gotcha. Think about that for a minute. There's people that were born here that don't appreciate it. That happens all the time, right? And there's people that were born here with every opportunity in the world to succeed, but decide to settle. And then you're living proof of the dream, right? Come from a very different country than here to another country, that Germany, and then coming over here, and now you pull up to the office driving a Rolls Royce, living in one of the nicest parts of Dallas, which is one of the nicest, if not the nicest city in the country, in my opinion. And you said you have 31,000 square foot office or something of that nature, 8,400 recruits working with you. Dude, that's pretty damn powerful. It's an awesome story.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So what do you think the big, there's no secret to success, but what do you think the big pivot point where you went, I'm going to go from being a sales pro to level 2, being self-employed, start my own thing with these 66 people?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it's very easy to think you've always been special, you know what I'm saying? So once you make the money, you kind of forget how horrible you were at one point, how lost you were, how stupid things you did sometimes. I mean, I've been kicked out of the biggest clubs in LA where I was permanently banned. Some very dumb mistakes that I made when I was in LA. But for me, so I get out of the Army, I'm partying, I'm in Vegas 26 times a year, I'm going to the clubs, I'm partying Tuesday through Sunday, very committed to the nightlife. And then my dad has a heart attack, right? And I go to the hospital to see him, UCLA Medical Center, and I see his situation, wasn't too happy about it. So, in life we make two types of decisions. Either one of them is intentional, the other one is accidental. Accidental is sometimes caused by a life-changing event, a death in the family, a girl breaks up with you, a girl who you love leaves you, you're publicly humiliated, you're embarrassed, a massive loss, a massive setback, something happens to you where a health scare, yeah, any of that stuff, right? So you kind of sit there and you're like, wait a minute, you were not anticipating this, right? Like it's almost like you're fighting somebody and you don't know they're a southpaw and they get you with the left. You were preparing for something like this and the moment you're already gone. Right. Sometimes when that happens in life, where you pivot from there says a lot about you, because most of the time when that happens, we get like this. You get more and more scared and you kind of go in a corner, and for the rest of your life you play defense. Or in that moment you have to come out and say, listen, worst case scenario, I'm here. What else is going to happen outside of this? This is a pretty terrible situation to be in. I'm going to come back and show my fight. And so when that happened, I cried like a little baby. But I woke up the next day. It was as if a different person showed up, and the rest was history. I went to work. And I said, there's one thing I know. You may be better than me. You may have a better market than me. You may be smarter than me. You may come from a family who stayed together. I'm from a divorced family. I don't have a 4-year nor a 2-year. I don't have money. I don't have nothing going on. I don't have a last name that comes with money. But I have one thing. I'm going to get to work. I'm going to improve. I'm going to go out there and try to find strategies that works. And I'm going to last a long time. And for you to beat me, you're going to have to outlast me. And that's the one thing. If you can outlast somebody in the marketplace, very few people can outlast. Because, look how many people slow down at $100,000 a year income.
Yep.
When you're 14 years old, $600 a month is a lot of money. At 18 years old, you make $1,500, a lot of money. At 21, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm making $2,500. At 30 years old, a person makes 10 grand a month. Then they stay flat. If you look at the average person, what they make at 30 versus what they make at 60, it is not that big of a difference.
Right.
It's not a big difference. The big difference from 14 to 30. And that's because you're constantly recreating yourself. At 30, most people are the same person as they are at 60. And the changes that happen is purely accidental. Something they didn't anticipate. But that's the moment we got to make a decision on who you want to be. And for me, I said, I'm going to go out there and get to work and get clear what I want. My dad's not going to die without him meeting my kids. My kids are going to meet who he is, because I never met my grandpa, my dad's father. So I went to work and I said, this is it. Kids are going to meet him. Kids are going to meet him. Kids are going to meet him. And today, my kids, every night I go home, where's Papa? Where's Papa? Where's Papa? They love their Papa. And those dreams get clearer and clearer and clearer. And as you advance, you want to get your carrots to be replaced with a new carrot and a new carrot, because if you don't have any new carrots, you're going to plateau. So a little bit of all those things combined together is why, I've had some kind of success so far.
Yeah, we call it the force of average, right? Like somebody gets into a business or gets a job or whatever because they want above average results, and somewhere they learn to settle. Somewhere the force of average comes in and says, well, this is average for you. You don't have to do above average stuff anymore, and a lot of people fall victim to it. For some people, the force of average hits them and keeps them at 100 grand or 50 grand. Some people, it keeps them at $1 million. But the force of average steps in and keeps you from growing. It keeps you from, it's almost like in class. If there's a grading curve, if you're the smart person and all of us are in class, you get a really high score, you mess up the grading curve
Yep.
for all of us,
Yep.
right? And so it's like crabs in a bucket, whatever you want to call it, right? So somewhere along the line, you know, the corporate grind gets tough, or people gossiping behind you because you might be their boss, and you just like, well, I'm just going to, like you said, I'm just going to stay here in my corner where I'm comfortable. And what I've learned, the only way to really beat the force of average, because what it's doing is it's distracting you. It's distracting you saying, here's this carrot's good enough, to use your example, right? And so the only thing that can beat that is being focused, right? I'm focused on having 500,000 licensed agents by 2029. I'm focused on doing the things to serve these 8,500 that I've got right now and staying focused on working. The other thing is, you know, a lot of people talk about the 4-hour work week, you know, and people are saying, like, I'll go to these mastermind events, Patrick, and everybody's like, well, you know, I don't know. I don't really work on my, it's almost like it's cool not to work, right? Especially in the internet marketing circles. It's like, I make laptop money and travel all over the world, and I have a team that does all this stuff for me. But I've always been of the mentality that I'm working as hard as 2 days in 1 day, right? So while the average person might get 280 days out of the year, counting time off and sick days and everything else, I'm getting 730 days a year worth of work, right? And it's only going to take a certain amount of time before I've put in 2 years for every, you know, 0.8 of a year that they have. In 5 years, I'll be able to fly past all of them. And we hit that pivot point about a year ago to where a lot of my mentors I've now outdone what they've done in business, you know, and a lot of people, like you said, that most businesses go out of business within the first 5 years, right? So we watched a lot of people start up in the last 5 years that have gone away too, but the key for me has definitely been the work as well. So I 100% agree with that.
I mean, it's not, it's the whole 4-hour work week. It is an era we're living in, and I think there's a big market. I think Tim Ferriss was brilliant when he wrote that book. Most people, this is most people don't want to work that hard, right?
Yeah.
Most people, Bill Gates said, if you want to find out how to get something done faster, find a lazy person to do, because they'll always find shortcuts.
Right.
Right? So most people are okay with that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think what it comes down to is the size of your vision. Who do you want to be in life? Okay, so let's just say you live out the life, and your life was, I want to make 150, I want to be relaxed, I wanted to come from the internet, I want to make 12 grand a month, and I'm totally cool with that for the rest of my life. I want to be happy. Okay, you die doing that, your kids remember you, are you okay with that? Yes, then go live the life. But if you die and you want more than that, and you want to make an impact, and you want to have history books write about you, and you want to be able to have a true impact in a life where your kids are going to say, that was my dad, your grandkids are going to say, that was my dad, then the standard and expectation is risen. So what life you want to live, half the time when I'm talking to people and I ask them, I say, who do you want to be? What life do you want to live? I cannot tell you how many people don't have the answer to those two questions. Who do you want to be? What life do you want to live? Most people don't have a clue who they want to be. And so that when you don't have a target and you're not clear on it, somebody else who does is going to go further than you are.
Yeah, that's again what we call the force of average, right? There's this vague language, like people say, I want to level up, I want to go to the next level, I want to be successful. And you say, what does success mean, right? Define it. What does successful mean? They say, I want to have nice things and more money. That's still very vague. People can't even define it. You know, success for me is very specific. It's numbers, because everything runs on numbers, right? There's a video, I don't know if you have ever heard of the guy named Frank Kern, and there's a video called Core Influence on YouTube by him. And this is like back in the day when he's like long hair and he's on stage barefoot and stuff like that, but he's a really brilliant guy. And he talks about designing your perfect day, right? So it's like you need to know how much money you need to live your life. You need to design what your perfect day looks like, what you would eat for breakfast, how you would interact with your family, your kids, what cars you would drive, what house you would live in, what state you're in, what their tax rate is, and what cars you want, like all this stuff broken down to where all of a sudden you got a number. And that number makes you something you can focus on and get clear on, and then you do the reverse math to how many sales, how many deals, how many hours you have to work to make that number happen.
Brilliant. I mean, you're reverse engineering the math to figure out what you got to do.
Yep. A lot of people don't do that. They keep saying, I want to be successful, but they've never defined it, so they don't know what it is, so they never obtain it, because you can't obtain that which you can't define, you know?
That is true.
So, yeah, same was similar for me. You know, I was thrown into this industry as well. I had a life-changing moment that happened to me that caused me to go from a sales professional to self-employed and ultimately to CEO.
What was that life-changing moment?
For me, it was the firearms deal. You know,
got it.
And the inability to get a federal mortgage license. And so I went from everything being all hunky-dory, me being the top producer of the company, and they offered me ability to stay there, but I was scared. I was like, if something goes wrong, they're surely going to point the blame at me, and I'd rather just not. I got in trouble for scraping the gray line anyway. I'd rather not do it again, kind of a thing. But I got focused. Like, this is what I want to build. This is what I want to make happen. And we've done a heck of a job. We've had like 15,000 clients in the last 2 years. So
what changed with you right afterwards? If you were to say 3 things that changed, what would you say it was?
My belief in myself. Okay. It had to. Around the same time, Jackson, my oldest son, was my ex-wife was pregnant with him. And so I was like, man, I got a kid on the way. And there's 2 things in my life that had gotten in the way, having a license and then having a boss. And I thought, I know how to generate leads. I know how to make sales. I've been doing this stuff and using their product. I just need to find a product to sell. And so I started off selling multi-level marketing stuff, right? It's like it was an easy way to get a product. Internet market allowed me to test and try stuff. And then one day I just had the realizations like, dude, I should be selling my own information. It's no different than what these guys are selling anyway, and I know some of this stuff, so that's how it got started. But the belief that shifted almost immediately from I need a company to work for and I need a job to I need to make the stuff happen on my own. I can do it on my own. It was like, and people say all the time to me, they're like, how'd you make this stuff happen? It's like I never thought that it wouldn't happen. Not for 1 minute. I remember, Patrick, when I was about 15 or 16 years old, we were driving on the tollway back here. And I was in the back of a red S10 pickup truck that one of my friends owned, right? And he was probably 18. And he had been driving to the Galleria Mall and putting on pants and then walking out with them and then returning them for money, right? That was his little hustle. And so we were riding back because he went in and traded some pants in that he had stolen, riding back to get some beer money or whatever, right? And so we're riding down the tollway, and I remember passing this building and one that used to working over at Providence, right? And about that time, we saw a red Ferrari fly by us. And I told my 2 friends in the back of that pickup truck, I said, I don't know what these people do to have a job over here on the tollway, because this was all brand new back then, right? So I don't know what these people do to have a job over here on the tollway and to drive a Ferrari, but one day that's going to be me. And my friends laughed. They're like, dude, we're from like the poorest part of town. What are you talking about, man? Like, we're going to go get jobs at car washes and watch Chris steal pants for the rest of our life. Like, this is our gig. We're just beer drinking losers from the hood. And I was like, well, you guys may be, but I'm going to figure out a way out of this.
Out of it.
And it was almost like I relived.
So you were dreaming. You were dreaming back then.
I wanted big things.
And you were 17, 18 at that time. The kid driving a red S10 was 18. You were 17, 18?
Yeah, I was 16 or 17.
Who were you in high school?
Man, I left school in the 9th grade. I wanted to go to work.
Got it.
And honestly...
So you never went to high school?
I went to 9th grade, and then I didn't finish because I didn't show up enough. And so I just went and got my GED.
Got it.
But I was working at a car wash part-time. And so on the weekends, and then I would leave school at like noon and go to the car wash, right? And, I'd made like 25 grand in a year at this car wash. And I'm like doing the math. I'm like, this teacher is only making about 30 grand. It's like, dude, I'm just like, this is a bad place to get advice. Like, I got all I'm going to get here. I'm just going to go into the workforce and make it happen. And, that's what I did. And obviously I was washing cars. You'll love this story. I was washing cars, and man, I was going to be the best damn car wash guy there was. My goal was to own that car wash, right? If I work hard enough, I'll move to management, to general manager, and then eventually I'll be able to own a piece of this thing. And a lady came in and said, you ever think about getting another job? It's like, no, I love this place. Dude, I was like on team car wash, but I was all in with whatever I was doing. And she says, I'd like for you to come and work for our mortgage company. She's like, if you'll just work as hard at mortgages at this, you'll be a millionaire. And I took her up on the offer, and within about 2 years, I was a millionaire from the real estate that I was flipping, and I had no clue, never taken an application, never even bought a vehicle, and so she taught me all the stuff, and I got really good at it, and it changed my perspective, changed my perspective on money, because I'm dealing with all these people's tax returns and stuff, and as I started out earning the people that I was taking returns for, I could actually give them good advice and things like that I did myself, but obviously my plan to leave school had worked out for me, right? Because I worked hard at the car wash. I was making probably 45, 50 grand a year at the car wash. And then this lady offers me a job that's commission only in the mortgage world. And I'm like, but I got a comfortable, I had to make that decision you're talking about. I got a comfortable at 21 years old, I got a comfortable $50,000 a year job, or do I stretch my identity and try this commission only thing? And the lady closed me, this is what she said: the car wash will always take you back. She's like, this may be your one shot to get away. The car wash will always take you back.
Always take you back.
That's right. You have to remember that when somebody doesn't want to leave their job. It's like, hey, you do a good job for these people. They'll always take you back.
I love that line. And it's true.
Yep. Yeah, she saved my life, man. And
so what's the story with this kangaroo? Tell me, what's this kangaroo?
Oh, you don't know the story about kangaroos? No. So kangaroos are like they're our slang for people who don't buy from you. And so like in the internet world, you got a lot of people that'll take you up on the free videos, the free books, the free strategy sessions.
They won't make a move and buy.
But they won't make a move and buy because their arms aren't long enough to reach in their back pocket where their wallet is, right? But they're just long enough to stuff all the free stuff in their pouch. So we call people that don't buy kangaroos. It's a lot better than calling them assholes or whatever. So we just call them kangaroos.
F-bomb.
And that's an F-bomb. That was given as a gift.
F-bomb.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, kangaroos has kind of been our lingo. So, you know, guys in our group will tell stories like, I was talking to this kangaroo and didn't know he was a kangaroo. And,
that's great.
And so it's just our little insider thing.
That.
So
I like the setup you got here.
So you guys, and I appreciate that. You guys have 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
We just crossed 1 million subscribers 3 days ago.
Not viewers, subscribers.
Yeah, 1 million subs.
And you have mastered, well, you know, I know you say a lot of things are accidental, but I know it's funny, a lot of people are humble and don't want to take credit for what they've done, but like for me, you're the master at getting engagement and attention in those videos. Like I remember when you went into the gun store and just bought a gun and you're like 5 minutes later I got an AR-15, right? And I know the way that works in Texas. Like you already own a gun, you're on the list, you get another one. But a lot of people in other states don't realize that. And I remember that thing went crazy. It was hilarious. You want to be pissed off, you can read the comments on that.
We shot it. I said, you know what? I don't know about this one. You know, we'll see what's going to happen. It's going to piss off a lot of people, and it did. But, you know, for me, I was in the military. You know, I believe in having guns. I do. That's why I'm in Texas. Texas is, to me, what the real America is, and I'm living here.
I like that, man. I like that. As a guy that's well-traveled all over the states and the world, he says Texas is the real America. I can dig that, man. You're from California, and you told me this little side note that he said, man, once you get to Texas, it sure is hard to leave.
It's hard, especially if you got kids. Because, you know, it's like working for a great company who takes care of you in every possible way, and you try so many reasons to leave. Like one of the things you got to give credit to great companies who don't produce, like who don't lose people to become entrepreneurs. You and I at one point left because something happened, right? Just think about it, right? So, but these companies that keep great employees, why do they do it? They offer a great benefits plan to them, right? Whether you have a retirement, you got travel, you got this, you got that. Something is so attractive that a person stays. Texas, if Texas was a company, it offers such great benefits program that's tough to leave.
Yeah, I agree. I've been here for 39 years. I agree 100%. So if folks here that are watching want to follow you, what's the place where you're the most active on?
You go on YouTube, you can type in the word Valuetainment, you'll see me all over the place. Or if you message me on Instagram and Twitter, I do respond back. So Instagram or Twitter, the handle will be Patrick Bet David. You'll hear a comment back from if you message me on those two places.
Yeah, it's a verified account, so you know which one's his. He's got the blue check next to it. And if they want to know, we have lots of insurance sales guys, lots of financial planners. If they want to know more about PHP, how do they find that out?
Send me a message, and you know, we'll take it from there. If you go on YouTube and you watch a video, 4 Steps to Creating Wealth, you watch that video, it's got somewhere around 200,000-300,000 views. That'll kind of give you an idea about, if you're in the insurance business, that'll give you an idea about what we do there. But if you're an entrepreneur or you're in sales or business, if there is one video I would advise you to watch on YouTube, it'd be a video I did. It was a talk I gave when I lived in an RV for 30 days. We went from LA to Miami, Miami to Toronto, Toronto to San Fran, San Fran back to LA. 30 days, lived in this RV, and I give talks every day. Thousands of people showed up. The video is called DNA of an Entrepreneur. DNA of an Entrepreneur. I think that'd be a very good video for you to watch on YouTube. Yeah,
because you're basically, you said there's 200,000 agents in the industry, and you're trying to have 500,000. So you're like churching the unchurched here. You're going out and evangelizing people that never thought this was an option.
And I think one of the things about insurance is it's such a, like I was in Argentina 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And in Argentina, I'm with all these insurance guys. And they're making ridiculous money. When I say, working, selling insurance. They're making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million a year income insurance. And one of the guys said, I'm hoping nobody figures out about our industry. I said, well, what do you mean by that? He says, I don't recruit. I said, why don't you recruit? He says, why would I recruit? I said, why wouldn't you recruit? He says, I don't recruit because I don't want people to know how much money this industry really pays. The fewer the agents, the more money I make because I'm needed. I said, I'm the complete opposite.
It's a scarcity mindset.
Yeah, no, I want the world. No, we're going international. I want the whole, I mean, people are going to know what we're really working on the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. By the way, stay tuned for a very crazy video that's going to be coming out next week, 2 weeks. It's going to be wild, but we're working on some very, very wild, strange projects right now.
I seen the old man hat and stuff that you were on Instagram.
We're working on weird things right now.
Well, so, and you know, that's that abundant mindset is helping people. I think, you know, just from my assessment of talking to you for about an hour today in the office and everything, is like you're called to help, and this just happens to be the product that you're using leverage on to help people. Like I really feel like you're called to help people, and the insurance is what you know to be able to make that happen.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's a vehicle, and even Valuetainment, like we haven't yet, like you know, you're talking about what you're doing. Valuetainment is, again, we just kind of started a YouTube channel. We started creating content, and I remember I told Mario one time. I said, Mario, I have no idea if we're good enough to keep audiences. He says, what do you mean? I said, within a year, if we don't know how to keep audiences, I'm not going to produce content anymore. I'm a private guy. If you notice, like the circle of all the social media people, I'm not in those circles. Like I'm not the one that collaborates with everybody. I'm kind of on an island by myself. And, you know, just kind of trying to see if we can do something or not. And there's a lot of great content creators out there that you probably follow. But for us, it was just, let's just see if we got it, we don't. Once I realized there's an interest, great, let's get more specific, more specific, more specific. And then we said we're going to go after one word, and that word is entrepreneur. I understand business. I kind of have a knack for business and processes. I said, let's go after that word. Then we decided to scale it. And then it became, by the way, Valuetainment, we don't advertise on Valuetainment. So we don't do ads, we don't do any of that stuff on Valuetainment, meaning like we don't do ads to bring subs. We just flat out went after a word.
Good entertainment.
You give content and see what happens with it, yeah.
That's awesome. You know, Andy Frisella, I don't know if you know who he is or not, but he's done the same thing. He's like, doesn't run any advertisements, #1 podcast on iTunes because he's just dropping value.
He's a great communicator.
He is.
A very good communicator.
He is, and a very large human when you meet him.
Is he?
He's gigantic, yes.
Very, very good communicator.
Well, awesome. So keep your eyes posted on what Patrick's about to do over at Valuetainment on YouTube in the next couple of weeks. They got some interesting projects and everything else coming out. Again, that's Valuetainment on YouTube. He's Patrick Bet David on Instagram, and you said Twitter as well?
Same handle.
Look for the handle, and check him out. He's a Dallas local. He's got an amazing vision, amazing company, and he's got awesome content on YouTube, man. I appreciate you taking the time to stop by today, man.
Oh, man. Hey, don't be a kangaroo, okay?
Take advice from my man Patrick here. Don't be a kangaroo. Later.